What's up everybody, it's Sword Fitness here, and for today's video I want to talk a little bit about energy. Basically how we as humans use energy for our daily living functions and how we obtain and consume or expend said energy. So throughout this video I'm going to use two terms to describe this. I'm going to call it energy, but I'm also going to call it calories. Now you can use this word interchangeably. Sometimes when I talk with early clients or beginners getting into dieting, I don't like to use the word calories because a lot of people think, oh, that's just for, really obese people that need to count their calories, but not me because I'm decently fit or whatever, and so calories don't matter to me. It matters to everyone, and not just for losing weight, which is what a lot of people count calories for. It also actually matters for gaining muscle mass or gaining weight, basically, if you want to put on size. Calories are energies, the energy that we use in our bodies to do all sorts of things. So we're going to get into that right now. So really simple to start, how do we actually get energy or calories? There's only one way that we acquire calories, and that is in the form of food. Now, this food that we eat, where do the calories come from, right? Why do certain foods have more calories than others? So basically the way it works is our food, what we take into our body, is made up of 3 energy providing macronutrients. It can be a combination of all 3. They are protein, which has 4 calories per gram of protein. Then you have carbohydrates, which also has 4 calories per gram. Then finally fats or lipids, which has 9 calories per gram. So fat being the most calorically dense of the 3 macronutrients. Now, protein and carbohydrates are both 4 calories per gram. However, they are not the same. 4 grams of protein into your system is not the same as 4 grams of carbohydrates in your system because of one of the ways that we're about to talk about when it comes to expending the energy, right? So I want to let you know that even just watching this video, you can go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back right now because you're already burning calories. And you're burning the most calories than you will the entire day, no matter what you do. So why is that? We're about to talk about the ways that the human body now expends energy within a given day. This is called your TDEE, also known as your total daily energy expenditure. Everyone's total daily energy expenditure is going to be different based on a variety of factors: their genetics, their height, their current weight, how much muscle mass to fat mass they have, so their body fat percentage, whether they have any medical conditions, things like that, even their biological sex, male or female. All of these things influence your TDEE. We'll just use abbreviations from here on. So the way that we burn the most calories, what makes up the most of our TDEE, is actually when we're completely at rest doing absolutely nothing. So this would be when you're just standing, doing absolutely nothing except breathing, when you're sleeping, when you're sitting on the couch just completely relaxed. This method of burning calories is called your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. So you might have heard the word metabolism. A lot of people like to say, oh, I'm fat because I have a slow metabolism, and he's muscular or skinny because he has a fast metabolism. You've probably heard people throw around that word, slow, fast metabolism, right? So what does that actually mean? So your metabolic activity, or your metabolism, is basically the amount of calories that are burned inside of your internal bodily environment just to keep everything functioning. So this would be automatic processes like the beating of your heart, other organs, the circulation of your blood, all of these things, your hormone secretions, all of these things consume energy or calories. And so the most of the calories that you burn throughout the day, no matter what you do, is going to come from you doing absolutely nothing. It's your basal metabolic rate. Something of note for BMR is it actually increases, so your metabolism gets faster, to put it in layman's terms, with the more muscle mass that you have. Someone with a lower body fat percentage will burn more calories at rest than someone with a higher body fat percentage. Now, why is this? This is because muscle mass, or lean body mass, is more metabolically active than fat mass. it requires more energy to sustain. Therefore, you burn more calories at rest. So as you go to the gym, as you lift weights, as you get stronger, as you put on more muscle, you will find that you actually end up burning more and more calories doing nothing. So me right now, who I've been training intensely a year and 5 months, so I will burn a lot more calories doing absolutely nothing than someone that has never trained in the gym and is maybe obese. But that person's metabolism can be sped up. They're not stuck that way, just like I wasn't stuck being obese, right? The more muscle mass you put on, the more metabolically active you will become, the better your BMR will be at complete rest. So that's the first way that our body burns calories. So already it's getting a little bit more complex than the way that we obtain calories, right? There's only one way that we obtain calories, it's eating food, right? And we just talked about the macronutrients, right? So burning calories, there's a variety of different factors that make up your TDEE. BMR, the one we just talked about, was the most major one. But now let's talk about another important factor. This will be well, we'll start with one that you might not actually think about, right? So when you eat food, let's say you're eating a snack as you're watching this, hopefully a healthier one, right? But calories in, calories out, so do make room for your treats. You can still have them on any diet. In fact, it's recommended if it keeps you happy. Just try to stay within your caloric budget. Anyway, I got off on a tangent there. If you're eating a snack while watching this, or whatever you eat at any point in the day, you actually burn calories digesting the food that you consume. Now, granted, you're not going to burn as many calories as the food itself, or else we would not need to eat food. Or rather, sorry, the opposite. We would actually be needing to eat all the time, and we would still die if we never retained any calories, right? So obviously you're going to burn less calories digesting the food that you just consumed. So let's say, we're just going to throw out some numbers here. This is not scientifically accurate, but let's say you eat like 100 calories of chicken or something, right? Now, let's say your body only ends up keeping about 90 of those calories because 10 of those calories were burned off as heat while you were digesting that food. So you do burn calories digesting food. This is called the thermic effect of food. Now, if you remember when I talked about the 3 energy-providing macronutrients, right? Protein, carbs, fats. Remember I told you that protein and carbohydrates both contain 4 calories per gram of each respectively, right? But protein calories are not equal to carbohydrate calories. This is because protein calories have a higher thermic effect of food than carbohydrate calories. So what this means is if you consume 4 grams, right? Yeah, so 4 times 4 is 16. So you're consuming about 16 calories of protein and 16 calories of carbohydrates. You are going to burn off more calories with the protein calories than you are with the carbohydrate calories, because the protein has the highest thermic effect of food. This is why high protein diets are very crucial when it comes to weight loss, especially for athletes, right? And a variety of other reasons. We'll do a whole protein video coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. So that's the thermic effect of food, or TEF, right? That's the second way that our body burns the calories that we consume. So the third way is something fancy. We're going to call it non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, that sounds like a very fancy term, so I just want you to think of it as an abbreviation. We'll call it NEAT. So what is your NEAT? To put it simply, NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is the amount of calories that you burn while doing physical activity, not exercise. So I want to quickly elaborate on what the difference is between physical activity and exercise. It's quite simple in the fitness world, right? It's quite simple. Exercise is any physical activity that is structured or planned. So this is stuff that you would not do in your day-to-day life if you were not planning for it. So this is stuff like weightlifting, like intense HIIT cardio, swimming, things like these are structured cardio and or resistance training sessions. This is your exercise activity thermogenesis, right? So sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it's actually anything that is not that. So non-structured exercise, it would be your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So let me give you some examples of that. So when you go out on a walk, when you're just walking throughout your day, that is an example of NEAT. If you're like me waving my hands around, this burns calories. Not a lot of calories, but it burns calories. Talking burns calories. So these are all examples of NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I'm gonna stop saying the full thing, so we'll just keep it to abbreviations, right? So when you do something strenuous, but it's not an everyday planned activity, like let's say yard work, right? You go and you mow the lawn or something. This would also fall under the category of NEAT. So you do burn calories just existing at rest, BMR. You burn calories existing while doing light activities and or physical activities that do not include exercise. This would be your NEAT. So the final way that we burn calories is the exact opposite of NEAT. This is structured and planned physical activity. So it's exercise, right? This is exercise activity thermogenesis, or EAT. Now this is basically just weightlifting and cardio, and this cardio can be in various forms. It can be biking, it can be planned walking, it can be running, it can be swimming, elliptical, Stairmaster, you name it, right? These are all things that we plan to do specifically for the purpose of burning calories, building muscle, whatever you want to call it, right? This falls under EAT, and this actually makes up a smaller portion of the amount of calories that you burn through the day. So your NEAT and your EAT are a smaller part of the calories you burn through the day compared to your BMR, and then a little bit less for that thermic effect of food. Keep in mind, the more protein you will consume, the more of those calories will actually not be retained. So if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, someone is very low in protein and high in fats and carbs, and someone's very high in protein and lower in fats and carbs, the person with the high protein diet will actually burn off more calories at rest because of the digestion, the thermic effect of digesting that protein. So, quick recap, because I know it was kind of a little elaborate for those of you that aren't very versed in nutrition. You get calories from food. That's all you need to remember. That's the only way we obtain energy into our system, by consuming macronutrients, right? So food. A quick side note, this is why some foods, and this is something I only found out when I started really getting into nutrition and fitness, but some foods, I like diet soda, right? Well, let's use diet soda as an example. Some foods list themselves as being 0 calories, and I've always thought that was too good to be true, and that's just kind of like a marketing thing, and it's a blatant lie. I always thought it was just kind of like false advertising, because how can a food actually be 0 calories? Like, how does that make sense? I'm consuming it, so it should give me something. The reason why 0 calorie food items do not give you calories the science explains this, is because they do not contain any energy providing macronutrients. There is no protein in a can of Diet Coke. There is no carbs, no fat. Now there is sodium, there is minerals, iron, sodium, potassium, all of that stuff is in these 0 calorie items, right? Food items. However, they do not give you energy providing macronutrients, which is why they are able to remain 0 calories. So there you go. The more you know, if you were ever wondering that, like I was. Anyway, so that's how we get calories from food. And to quickly recap, you expend calories by doing nothing, and that's actually the best way to expend calories. So good on you for burning some calories right now. You expend calories by fidgeting, talking, taking your dog on a walk, mowing the lawn, working. If you work a physical job where you have to move and carry things, that's all your NEAT, right? And finally, EAT, where you take charge of what you want to do with your body, whether it's for health, longevity, physique, strength, etc. We all have different reasons why we decide to start working out. But when you work out, so when you do a cardio session, weightlifting session, whatever it might be, that is an example of EAT. So all of these things come together and they make up your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, right? So, okay, great. I now have a rough estimate of what my TDEE is. What do I actually do with that? Like, what does this mean? So, these are the amount of calories that your body burns every day based on your living habits and a lot of other factors that we talked about near the beginning of the video. So, if you consistently eat in an energy or calorie deficit under this number, your body is actually deficient in the energy that it needs to maintain its current status, its homeostasis, right? So what ends up happening is, if it cannot get enough of the macronutrients that it needs from outside world, so food, it ends up making up the difference in terms of that deficit, right? It makes up the difference in your long-term energy storage, also known as your body fat. Now, you also want to be careful if your deficit is too extreme, right? So more than 1,000 calorie deficit. You have to be really careful with this, because muscle, because it's more metabolically active than fat, is just as good of an energy source. And our bodies are smart. Now, they don't always do what we want them to do. You know, I want to look like a Gymshark model, but my body says, okay, that's great that you want that, but more important is staying alive, right? And we want to be efficient. So when you're in an extreme calorie deficit, it's much more efficient for your body to start catabolizing your muscle mass than only your fat mass. So you have to be very careful about entering a really large calorie deficit. It is not recommended for this reason. You will lose, yes, you'll lose weight, yes, you'll get skinnier, but you will lose a ton of muscle in the process. And remember what I said about muscle being more metabolically active. The more muscle mass you lose, the less calories you burn at rest, because you are losing that BMR provider, right? Your body fat percentage is it's not going down efficiently, right? Which would be the most efficient way to lower it would be to lower your body fat mass but keep as much muscle mass as possible. You want that ratio to be as much in your favor as possible for your metabolism, right? If you eat in a surplus of this number, now your body is taking in too much energy for what it needs to maintain homeostasis. And you have to remember, there's something in science. This isn't just in fitness. This is a science principle. It's called the first law of thermodynamics. It states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It simply changes form. It is stored and expended and changes form, right? Depending on your internal and external environment. So where does all of this excess energy that we are consuming go? It doesn't just disappear magically. It ends up stored on your body for the long term as body fat. So this is why when you eat a ton of calories, a lot of processed food, fatty food, unhealthy food, whatever you want to call it, whenever you eat all of this type of food in excess, right, you're consistently eating in a calorie surplus over an extended period of time, you get fat, to put it simply, right? You end up storing all of this excess energy onto your body because it has nowhere else to go, because your body's needs have already been met. Now you're in a surplus, right? So that's what ends up happening there. Now, theoretically, let's say we eat roughly the same number as that TDEE every day. This is called caloric maintenance. So in this process, you should not gain a significant amount of weight, and you should not lose a significant amount of weight. Yes, your weight will still change every day on the scale because of hormonal changes, water weight, all of that kind of stuff. Sleep affects it as well. However, significant weight changes will not occur if you are tracking your calories accurate and you are eating at a correct TDEE for you. This is called maintenance. And what ends up happening when you go through maintenance for a prolonged period of time is eventually you do continue to lose fat, provided you do things to make yourself lose fat, like exercise, building up your muscle mass to increase your metabolism. And you slowly build muscle as well. So this is something that I prefer, gaintaining, whatever you want to call it. This is something that I do want to eventually incorporate when I get to the body fat percentage that I want to be at. I'm currently at 15. I'm trying to get down to around 10 to 12. And then I will try to maintain from there. And I'll let you guys know how that goes. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. So that's what ends up happening, is over time you build more muscle and you lose more fat, but you do it slower than both extremes of dieting. So you build muscle slower on a maintenance phase than you do in a bulking phase, and you lose fat in a maintenance phase slower than you lose fat in a cutting phase, right? However, I still consider it to be a happy medium. I already have made a video on my thoughts of bulking and cutting. You can check that out if you haven't seen it already. And so yeah, there you have it. That's pretty much how energy works. That's the reason why calories are so important, and that's the reason why I believe that everyone should track their calories, not just fitness people, not just people that are overweight that need to lose weight, but everyone should track their calories, because it's important to know how much energy you're putting into your system if you care about influencing your body's weight consciously. You don't want weight to happen to you, you want to control your weight, right? This is how you do it. Surplus to put on weight, deficit to lose weight. When you get to where you're happy, maintain it. And now you know how to do that. It's all because of your TDEE. One more disclaimer that I want to talk about with TDEE before I finish up here, before I wrap up the video, is you want a good rough estimate of your TDEE, but it's not going to be the same number every single day. The reason why is because sometimes you'll work out harder than others, right? You can't control that. You can try as much as you want. You can do the same amount of reps, sets, weight, whatever, but your muscle fibers will respond differently on any given day, right? You're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days. So that's your eat that you can't control. Some days you're gonna be like me, making a video where I'm talking a lot, and some days you're gonna feel more just silent, chilling. You're gonna feel less hyperactive, less fidgety. So you can't always control exactly the factors of your TDEE, but it should not fluctuate too heavily within the course of a week. So you'll have a good rough estimate of what you need to eat to maintain your weight, and then do what you will from there. Eat above to gain, eat under to lose, right? Eat the same to maintain. So that's pretty much all I have to say on the topic of energy and or calories, and why they are so important, and why it's a good idea to keep as accurate track as you can. Now remember, you don't have to be perfect with this stuff, but it is better than not thinking about it at all, right? Try to be more mindful about the foods you eat. So with that all being said, leave a like if this video helped you out in any way, if you found it entertaining to listen to me talk about calories. And yeah, leave your burning questions down below as comments, and if I really like them, I'll turn them into future videos. Now, details for working with me are down below in the description if that applies to you. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Keep putting one foot in front of the other and take it easy.